welcome. I'm glad you guys were able to join us this morning for our discussion here with Dido. I'd like to introduce myself and then the other gentleman that's on the call with me that's going to do the presentation today. My name is Marty Baker. I'm the Director of GCP Solution Services here at Dido. Nara, would you like to present yourself, please?
Hello, everyone. My name is Narayanan Ramakrishnan. I go by Nara, and I'm a data engineer with Dido.
Okay, so with that, we'll just jump right into it. So today's presentation is going to be around moving your Oracle databases to GCP with bare metal. Hold on. Okay, so the agenda today we're going to cover is basically we're going to go through some customer challenges, kind of what are people seeing around that and attempting to move Oracle to the cloud. What are some basic migration options that GCP offers, and then we're going to specifically get into the GCP bare metal solution, and then talk about how does that look from an Oracle standpoint on bare metal, and then basically a follow-up next steps coming out of here. So what are the main customer challenges that customers of ours are seeing around trying to get Oracle on the cloud? Typically, you have higher cost running cloud options versus on-prem, and most of that is due to the license cost that increases when you're moving Oracle to the cloud. And then if you move like some of your apps there but not your databases, the environment can be costly and highly complex to set up and maintain. With doing that just because of everything has to be managed by the client, your VP connections and such. And a lot of the cloud options, the older versions of Oracle may not be supported, requiring you to upgrade the Oracle databases before you can move them and stuff like that. Those are kind of the three big ones. It's really around cost, environment, and support. And from there, we're going to move into kind of the Oracle options to GCP and what options are available. And at this point, I'm going to turn it over to Nara to take us through the next few slides. Nara?
Hey, thanks, Marty. So as Marty was saying, so this is the bare metal solution that Google offers to take your workload, Oracle workloads to the cloud, right? And when you're thinking of doing that and moving your Oracle workloads to a GCP environment, there are essentially three options available, right? As you can see, the first is the rehost, where it is just simply you take your Oracle workload, lift and shift as it is, you bring your own licenses, and you shift your workloads to the bare metal solution. And the bare metal solution will provide all the hardware support and all kinds of billing support. And as long as it matches the, because there are some licensing, issues here, which I will cover in the next few slides. I will talk about that more. There are certain configurations available on the bare metal solution, like the combination of cores and processors. So as long as your current workload will fit into any of those slots that are available, the combination of cores and processors, you can just lift and shift it, right? No need to do anything on the application side or anything. The second option that you have is replatform. So you will keep your core application code. You will not do too much of changes there, but you will essentially migrate it to a compatible platform, which will essentially, because you're moving it off your data center, you're essentially reducing your maintenance costs. And of course, as I said, there are some licensing cost savings when you move to a GCP. And of course, the third option is to completely tear down what you have and completely re-architect, rewrite your entire application, the entire database, and then take advantage of anything that is cloud native, whether it's on the application side or on the database side. So these are the three options available. So you can rehost, replatform, or rewrite. Next slide. So couple of things that you get when you move, when you're thinking of moving to the bare metal solution, right? Essentially, it's more like an infrastructure as a service solution. So, end-to-end infrastructure management, your hardware, your OS, everything is maintained, fully managed. You don't have to bother about, whether there will be power outages or whether there will be any issues with any other facilities and all that. Everything is managed for you. There are a lot of automation tools which will help you, test your environment, get your data into the new environment, test it, and then onboard your customers onto that new environment, right? And it is also certified to run enterprise level applications.
Whoops. What is going on? Sorry, Nora, I'm not sure what's going on here.
No problem.
Trying to close it down. I don't know how to do it. Sorry, guys. Sorry about that. I'll go back to presenting now. Let me see if I can back up. Hold on.
Back, yeah.
Okay, go ahead, Nora. Sorry about that.
Yeah, back up a couple of slides. One more.
Or we're not there? I thought we were here.
Yeah. This one, yeah. The other thing is, of course, because Google provides, interconnect services, so very low latency and highly available interconnect, and once your workload is there, then of course you have connectivity to all the native cloud services, right? Then the application modernization. If you decide to go with the third option of completely rewriting stuff, so then you have the access to all the cloud native databases, cloud spanner and stuff like that, if you decide to go that route. And then of course there is all kinds of savings you can have on your billing, because it's a unified pricing model across your Google Cloud and the bare metal solution. So there are things like committed use discounts, continued use discounts, and things which you can take advantage of to reduce your cost, right? Next slide, Marty, please. Okay, so as I said in the previous slide, this is essentially like an infrastructure as a service solution. So the core infrastructure will have everything, right? It will have the facilities, it will have your hardware configurations, it will have storage, SAN, it will have all kinds. The provisioning of hardware will be taken care of. All the power and cooling facilities, any kind of hardware breaks and any kind of repairs or fixing is required, all that is taken care of for you, completely managed. And the other thing is where your data is located, where your database or where your workloads are running, they are in a non-shared environment, essentially, which means only you have access to that. No one else does, not even Google. And then of course there is always 24/7, 365 days support available for you for troubleshooting any issues. And then they also provide the network piece of it. They have a dedicated internet, and so they have low latency. All the network management is taken care of for you. It's completely managed environment, very, very secure, both at the physical level as well as at the network layer. So they have all that provided for you. You do not have to worry about that. And then of course they have monitoring services to make sure all the hardware, everything is running up, all the servers, everything is up and running, and anytime anything happens, a monitor or a server has to be replaced, all that is taken care of you. The other advantage is once you are on this bare metal architecture, it's very easy for you to then take advantage of all the various Google Cloud services available behind those, right? So you have all the various management tools, you have API access to a lot of the almost all, in fact you have API access to all the Google services. You have access to the cloud support, and then of course you can manage your billing, and you can anytime you want, you can go take a look at how much you're spending, what is your spend, and things like that. And Google also provides recommendations for you to say to save on billing and costs. So overall, this is like a completely managed infrastructure as a service offering. Next slide, please. Okay, so how does this look like? So on the left you have your Google Cloud environment, right? It's completely Google. It's a Google data center. It's got everything there, right? It's got all your storage, your firewall rules, your compute engine instances, your Kubernetes instances, your virtual networks, everything there. Now, the actual bare metal solution is not sitting inside of a Google data center, but it's sitting in very close proximity with a latency of less than a millisecond or under 5 milliseconds to the actual Google data center. So it's actually what they call an extension to their actual data center. So it's sitting outside, but with, like, as I said, less than 5 minutes millisecond latency access to the actual Google Cloud environment. And what you're seeing here is the three options we saw in the earlier slide, rehost, rewrite, replatform thing. So on the right side, where you're seeing the DB on the top, you have the automated tool pack, you bring your own OS. That's where you just lift and shift, right? So you just take your workload. You have an Oracle workload. It could be Oracle Database 19, Oracle Database 12, whatever it is. You just take that and host it on the bare metal solution. It gives you automation tools for all that migration process, and then you bring your own operating system, whether it is Red Hat Linux, Oracle Linux, whatever version of Linux you're using. In the middle, where you are seeing is the re-platform, I believe, where make some compatible changes to your application so that it can take advantage of cloud native features. And then of course you do the same. You get your workload across, and then you get your own operating system, and then you work from there. And on the first slide, on the slide nearest to the Google Cloud, nearest to the interconnect, where you see the app and the OS, that's where you're completely rewriting everything, right? So here now, legacy application has been completely rewritten in with a cloud native language, and now you're taking advantage of cloud native databases. So it could be Cloud SQL, it could be MySQL, sitting on Cloud SQL, it could be Cloud Spanner and all that. And then of course, you could bring your own OS, or then you could also take advantage of the environments available within the bare metal architecture, right? So this is the way how the actual bare metal solution works. It's actually a extension of the Google data center. It's not sitting inside of the Google environment. It is sitting in close proximity to it, and Google offers the interconnect solution to give you under 5 milliseconds of latency. Next slide, please.
Okay, so from here, so the first part of that was really just to give you an idea of what the Oracle bare metal solution was. I mean, as far as what GCP's bare metal solution was. And now getting a little more specific, some of it will be a little more talk of what Nara just covered, but to give you how that looks from an Oracle standpoint. So if you look from the left to the right, basically, as it says, run an old version. So basically, any type version of Oracle database that you're wanting to run is supported on the GCP bare metal. As Nara kind of said, it's certified hardware optimized to run the Oracle workload. As Nara said, it's a 2 millisecond away from GCP, so very, very low latency. Again, fully managed hardware with enterprise grade security, reliability, and the stated time frame is typically somewhere between 8 to 10 weeks, and that all depends on what you're trying to move, the size of that, the complexity of the actual database, and what connectivity you have to it. So that can vary really pretty highly depending on what it is you're trying to migrate across. Next step is Oracle, best cloud solution for Oracle workloads. And the reason for that is if you look at it, again, what we talked about at the beginning around really the areas of kind of, I'd say, where customers are struggling is cost, operations, complexity, and then actually it helps reduce the Oracle deployment risk. As I said before, typically if you try to move an Oracle workload straight to the cloud, you're going to get a 50% kick in your licenses. And then if you just look at the cost difference between running on GCP versus say Azure AWS, typically Oracle GCP is around 20% less in just total run costs than what you'd look at compared there. You get the flexibility of those operations. Again, like we said, everything is managed. It's a fully managed data center, fully managed IT costs. All of that is executed for you. Really, it's you bring your own license and you just have to manage the actual database in terms of patches, stuff like that. But as far as the infrastructure behind all that fully managed by Google. And you also have that ability, because it's a direct interconnect with that low latency, of actually very seamlessly utilizing other tools within the Google ecosystem like BigQuery, Cloud SQL, and whatnot. And then just from a true deployment risk difference is just because you're doing it on bare metal, it basically, any license you have, you can bring that with you. And so you don't get any difference in if you were running in your on-prem environment versus whether you're running it on bare metal. And if you look at it against some of that cost there, I won't go through and drain the slide here, but basically, again, a lot of this is just restating the kind of what we've gone through. Flexibility, running any version, and some of the other ones you can't do that. Some of those you have to upgrade, license it, restrictions around it, cost advantage we just went over. And what's good about this, when it says data sovereignty, what that means is because you heard Nora state they're regionally located. It's up to you, have the ability then to, depending on where you want to locate those databases, you can deploy those in those different regions. And then business continuity, again, enterprise grade, high availability, works with any application, any Oracle version. And you can see some of the things on the other cloud vendors on the right. So from that gives you kind of a background around what GCP's bare metal solution is. What are the advantages of running that? Your Oracle platforms own that. The ease of doing that kind of takes a lot of the hands-on that customers are having to manage their own database, their own data centers and stuff. You move that off of that, and Google manages all that for you. So just to give you kind of the next steps around it, Dido is Oracle to GCP by migration services. We provide anywhere a plan to migrate your systems to that bare metal solution. What we do in that is we'll work with you guys, your architects, ops teams, to figure out exactly what you're running, what that's going to look like. We'll give you an assessment of what your current workloads look like and what that cost looks like would be running within the Oracle bare metal solution for GCP. We'll develop that architecture diagram and stuff for you, and then a migration strategy and cost assessment to do that, as well as, like I said before, as far as any kind of current, what that looks like from a cost compare for doing it on bare metal versus what you're doing today. So that gives you an idea of what Dido can do for you. And at this point, I'd like to ask, are there any kind of questions, stuff like that, that we may have? I know most of you can't answer, but you may have submitted some online. If there's any questions for Nora or myself. Jacob, do we have any questions that have come through at this time?
No questions here. We should be all set.
Okay. So with that, guys, we've completed our session today. From a follow-up, you'll get a follow-up email. You'll get reaching out to you around this presentation and stuff. So be looking for that. And with that, we can close the meeting, and appreciate all of you showing up today. And if you have any questions, please reach out to us. We're here to support you. Thanks.